Welcome to Hollywood Graveyard, where we set out to remember and celebrate the lives of those who lived to entertain us by visiting their final resting places. Today we conclude our tour of Mount Sinai Memorial Park, where we'll find such stars as Eleanor Audley, Ross Martin, Hillel Slovak, and many more. Join us, won't you? Concluding our tour of Mount Sinai Memorial Park, we'll pick up right where we left off and explore the eastern portion of the cemetery. Not much else to say, so let's get right to it. If you haven't done so already, be sure to check out Part 1. We'll begin our tour in the southernmost part of the cemetery in the Zion section. Most of the way to the fence, across which you'll see Forest Lawn Hollywood, is the grave of Martin Ragaway. He was an Emmy Award-winning screenwriter, most notably of comedy. He wrote a number of Abbott and Costello films and the Ma and Pa Kettle films. He was also a writer for many popular TV comedies of the era, including The Red Skelton Hour, The Dick Van Dyke Show, Petticoat Junction, Here's Lucy, The Brady Bunch, and more. Across the street to the north are the Courts of the Proverbs. On the right side of this courtyard is a wall of niches. Above eye level, we find the niche of Danny Wells. He was a comedic actor known for being the first to play Luigi on screen in the Super Mario Bros. Super Show.
That was some tough job.
Yeah, but we're the Mario Brothers. We're the best.
Hey, it's gonna be fun having an exchange student here, no?
Yeah, and he's a smart one, too.
What do you mean, smart one? How do you know that?
Well, because he sent his luggage ahead of him.
Whoa, some luggage.
Yeah, got here smarter before you woke up.
No kidding. Yeah, Mario, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I hate these child-proof boxes.
Well, then make them tight.
I got it. 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 I got it.
Go ahead.
Griti. You must be Mario. You must be Luigi.
He also played Charlie the bartender on The Jeffersons. His epitaph reads, "Keep 'em laughing." Further up this road, on the left, is the Rama section. Let's head to the far north end of this lawn. Just before the sidewalk is the grave of TV's most famous judge, Joseph Wapner. He presided over the People's Court from its inception in 1981 until 1993, covering over 2,000 episodes. He died in February 2017, so his marker is still temporary. Let's head back the way we came and turn right onto Mount Sinai Drive. Across the street to the north of the Courts of the Psalms is the Moses section. Straight north down the hill from a trash bin is the grave of Karl Freund. He was one of the great cinematographers of early Hollywood. He's the man who captured on film movies like Metropolis and Dracula. He innovated the unchained camera technique, which freed the camera from the tripod, allowing it to move around set. He also perfected the 3-camera system used to shoot live audience sitcoms, starting with I Love Lucy in the 50s.
Here she comes!
Continuing east, a few rows north, just past a tree, is the grave of actor Jesse White. He is perhaps best remembered as Old Lonely, the Maytag repairman, which he played in ads for 2 decades. He can also be seen in the film Harvey, opposite Jimmy Stewart, and on TV shows spanning the decades from Perry Mason, The Munsters, and The Twilight Zone, all the way to his final appearance on Seinfeld in the 90s. Let's head back up the hill and cross the street to the Courts of the Psalms. On the wall to the right of this courtyard, in the green marble, is the crypt of Pinky Lee. He hosted a popular children's television show in the 50s called The Pinky Lee Show. The show is said to have inspired similar shows like Pee-wee's Playhouse.
It's me, my name is Pinky Lee, with a checkered hat and checkered coat.
The fiery giggle in my throat. My shall dance like a billy goat. Put them all together, and it's who?
In 1955, he collapsed on live TV. At first, producers and the audience just assumed it was part of the usual energetic ad-libbed performance, but soon feared a heart attack. When audiences tuned in the next day, there was no Pinky Lee. A rumor persisted that he had died of a heart attack on live TV, but it turned out to have just been a serious sinus infection. This incapacitated him for a time, and the show was canceled not long after. Several years later, he hosted The Gumby Show. Let's continue east on Mount Sinai Drive and stop right before the intersection. To the south are the Gardens of Ramah. Heading south into these gardens, just past a small waterfall, we find the grave of Brandon Tartikoff. He was the president of NBC in the 80s and early 90s, and is credited for turning around the network's primetime fortunes with shows like The Cosby Show, Cheers, Family Ties, Law & Order, Night Court, The Golden Girls, Seinfeld, and more. Tartikoff helped to take the network from dead last to number 1. Back to the road, a little further east, not far from the curve in the road, we find the grave of actress Wendie Jo Sperber. She was a comedic actress who played Marty McFly's sister, Linda, in the Back to the Future films.
Girls chasing boys. When I was your age, I never chased a boy or called a boy or sat in a parked car with a boy.
Then how am I supposed to ever meet anybody?
Well, it'll just happen. Like the way I met your father.
That was so stupid. Grandpa hit him with the car.
It was meant to be.
She can also be seen on TV in shows like Bosom Buddies. In 1997, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Seeking light in this dark place, she founded We Spark, a cancer support center. She continued to entertain until her death at the age of 47. Heading back west, we turn right onto Moriah Road. At the bottom of this hill is the Memorial to the 6 Million. This is a monument to the 6 million Jews who were murdered in Europe under Nazi rule during World War II, approximately 2/3 of the Jewish population in Europe. The memorial was designed by artist Bernard Zackheim. It features 6 figures, rendered in burnt and tortured wood, depicting different types of Holocaust victims. The figures are set among cement slabs, bearing the names of the Nazi concentration camps. At the center is an eternal flame, symbolizing the eternal spirit of those who perished. From left to right, the figures are: I don't want to get involved, the Jew who is unwilling to act to save himself or others, yet who cannot escape destruction. Woman warrior, dedicated to the women who gave up their female identity to fight as soldiers when there were no men to fight for them. Genocide, a child bound in chains within the frame of death. For our and your liberty, dedicated to the notion of freedom and the willingness to self-sacrifice anything and everything to prove it. Jew with the Torah, seeking peace and keeping his own order, but a victim still. And martyrdom, commemorating the girls from a Jewish school who chose death rather than life in the Nazi houses of prostitution. May this monument forever stand and serve as a powerful reminder of the dangers and evils of ethnic scapegoating and racial supremacy. Back to the stars, let's cross the street to the north. Just past a tree is Ross Martin. If you're a fan of the Wild Wild West, you'll remember Martin as master disguise artist Artemis Gordon. Many of his disguises he designed himself. The role earned him an Emmy nomination.
That's some surprise, huh, Artie?
Yeah, shock of my life. You could have knocked me over with a 100-pound artillery cannon.
Ah, let's make it difficult on him. We'll split up.
Good idea, James. When you cannot confound the enemy, then you have lost to them. I am sure that you will get around to the back, and I can join you there at that time. The problem is getting around so that they don't know who we are. I think we can manage it now. You all set?
I hope so.
Speaking of the Wild Wild West, east along this same row is Leonard Katzman. He was producer of that show, but is perhaps best remembered as showrunner of the primetime soap opera Dallas. Other shows include Gunsmoke and Hawaii Five-0. Let's continue around King David Drive to the north. On the left is the Maimonides section. In lot 26, several spaces up from the road and east of a tree, is the grave of Hillel Slovak. He was a musician, best remembered as the original guitarist and founding member of the band The Red Hot Chili Peppers. The band formed in the early 80s with fellow classmates Flea, Anthony Kiedis, and Jack Irons. Slovak's style was primarily rooted in funk and hard rock. He recorded 2 albums with the Chili Peppers, Freaky Styley and the Uplift Mofo Party Plan. Slovak became addicted to heroin early in his career, and despite efforts to quit and start a new drug-free life, he died of a heroin overdose at just 26. His death motivated Kiedis, also a heroin addict, to try and get clean. Kiedis and Flea decided to keep making music, to build on what they had done with Slovak. A little further west, on the north, is the Kedron section. A few rows down from the road is the grave of actress Eleanor Audley. She was both the model and voice for 2 of Disney's great villains, Lady Tremaine, the evil stepmother of Cinderella, and Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty.
Listen well, all of you. The princess shall indeed grow in grace and beauty. But before the sun sets on her 16th birthday, she shall prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and die. Oh no!
And next time you ride the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, be sure to listen for the voice of Eleanor as the spirit medium, Madame Leota.
Call in the spirits wherever they're at.
On TV, she can be seen in shows like Green Acres and My 3 Sons. Finally, we cross the street back to the southwest and head up the hill. In Maimonides 20, we find the grave of an all-around great entertainer, Bobby Van. A song and dance man, Bobby Van can be seen in musical films and Broadway productions of the 50s through the 70s. Films including Because You're Mine, Small Town Girl, and The Affairs of Dobie Gillis alongside Debbie Reynolds. Later in his career, he frequently appeared on game shows, including Tattletales and Match Game 73. He died of brain cancer at just 51. And that concludes our tour. What are some of your favorite memories of the stars we visited today? Share them in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more famous grave tours. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. To all our Jewish friends out there, Happy Hanukkah. May it be a joyous holiday season for you and yours. It doesn't snow here in LA, so we have to pretend.